Hello all YouTubers, I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning back into my final Tropical Storm Cristobal coverage video for June 7th, 2020. Before I get on with today's video, however, I would ask that you please do subscribe because sadly, tons of my watch time has been coming from unsubscribed viewers. We are on our way to our next goal of 600 subscribers, and thank you guys so much, by the way, for 500 subscribers. Let's get to our next goal of 600 subscribers, alright? So please do subscribe, and also, this applies to every single one of you, please watch the whole video as well as liking and sharing the video. Thank you. Now, let's get on with today's video. Now, today is our final coverage of Tropical Storm Cristobal and is now making landfall in eastern Louisiana, moving up through southern Mississippi currently, and it is packing a pretty good punch right now. So let's get into the tropical coverage for today. If you have not already, please consider after this video checking out my severe weather coverage video on the top right corner of your screen appearing now. Alright, severe weather coverage for the northern plains and some pretty bad severe weather is possible there today. Now let's get into this video. Now you can see that Cristobal did make landfall with winds of about 50 miles an hour, at least sustained winds, gusts to about 60. So originally it was supposed to be landfall sustained winds at 60, gusts to 70, but we've had some gusts that reach 60, 65 miles per hour. Alright, it's a broad center. It's not an eye by any means, but it definitely does look good for a tropical storm, even though it does have some shear. Alright, we're still getting some outflow, some good outflow boundaries here, so we're getting some good flow there. The clouds, they look very, the storm is very organized. It's not, at least organized for a tropical storm anyway. You don't expect much from a 50 mile per hour tropical storm by any means. But we do have some heavy or some deep convection brewing there in southern Mississippi, where I think southern Mississippi will get the brunt of the rain probably, as well as eastern Louisiana. We could end up with 8 inches plus of rainfall. But you could tell that there's wind shear because the storm is trying to move, sort of rotating this way, and you're seeing some of the cloud tops getting blown off that way, so there may not be much left of this, but it might organize actually a little bit once it heads on land. I'm not saying that it's going to strengthen, but I think the clouds will get a little bit more organized once it heads on land, which is actually kind of ironic because you would think, it gets disorganized. The winds are going to weaken as it heads on land. The rainfall threat will still be there, but I think it will look more like a regular low-pressure system as it heads on land. Now, here's the cone from National Hurricane Center. Latest cone, again, making landfall winds of 50 miles per hour. Sustained winds anyway. And again, south central Louisiana up through southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, Pensacola, under a tropical storm warning. The storm is moving north at 7 miles per hour, and it will be slowing down a little bit more. Alright, and by Monday afternoon, this storm will just be entering Arkansas, so we have a while to go, at least 12 hours to go here. It'll turn into a tropical depression, might even stay in the tropical depression for a long time. I'm not talking about a post-tropical depression, I'm talking about like an actual tropical depression, all the way up through Wisconsin here. Alright, and then you're like, well, why does it go back to an S? Is it going to go back to a tropical storm? No, okay, that means a post-tropical storm. By this point, it's going to become a regular low-pressure system. It will have winds of tropical storm force, but it won't be a tropical storm. But it's what we call a post-tropical cyclone. So that's what the white S means as opposed to the black S that you see on the bottom of your screen. So yes, so it will strengthen a little bit more, as I thought, because I was seeing that with the tracking models. It will strengthen once it leaves the United States, but the winds will strengthen, but it won't turn into a tropical storm again. That will definitely not happen. It is actually starting to weaken a little bit because it's obviously starting to come on shore, the storm center. This was from 5 p.m. Obviously, is the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Now, as opposed to the tropical storm force winds, here we are, and your greatest threat for tropical storm force winds, here they are, south central and eastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama. It will reach far to the north, so northern Louisiana, northern Mississippi. If you do see tropical storm force winds, the earliest reasonable time will be about 8 p.m. tonight. We can start seeing those winds, and then maybe during the day Monday for parts of northwestern Mississippi and eastern Arkansas. But then outside of that dark green, it means you have a less than 5% chance to see tropical storm force winds, so don't really count on it too much. But where you're in the purple and the dark red, that means you are currently seeing tropical storm force winds. And obviously, there's your storm center right there, getting ready to come on shore, right there near Grand Isle and New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, in terms of the wind history, this thing is at it. Wind history is developed. It came on shore. It was formerly Amanda. Then it weakened, became Cristobal on the Atlantic side, Amanda on the Pacific side before. And you can see there's your tropical storm force wind history indicated by the orange. If it was a hurricane, we see a bunch of red, but we don't because it was only a tropical storm. But Some tropical storm force winds from south central Louisiana, they reach over just to the extreme western panhandle of Florida. So, yeah, even though Florida didn't get the tropical storm force winds, they got some of the rain because the wind shear again was blowing the convection off to the right. So Florida did get some rain, even though the storm's center, all right, was moving, more towards Louisiana. We had some convection over there in Florida, and that is still happening now. Even though Florida, the worst year weather, I believe, was the other day, about yesterday. We have storm surge watches for south central Louisiana, the eastern coast of Louisiana, again, southern Mississippi is where you have your storm surge warning, some higher storm surge amounts possible. All right, so again, eastern Louisiana right there, southern Mississippi up through Ocean Springs, down through New Orleans, I think, or at least off the coast, eastern New Orleans, 3 to 5 feet of storm surge. And that is the peak surge. Obviously, that is if that this would be at high tide, if this does happen at high tide, this is pretty much what you would expect in a Category 1 hurricane. Category 1 hurricane, usually we see about 4 or 5 feet of surge. And if you haven't seen that video on the explaining the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale, please check it out in the top right corner of your screen after this video. And hopefully I'll be doing some more videos on that series, on the explanation video series. But still, 2 to 4 feet there for south central Louisiana. 1 to 3 feet otherwise from, I'd say, Mobile Bay up through Pensacola, down the Big Bend, all the way down the west coast of Marco Island. Again, 1 to 3 feet of surge. Still nothing to mess with. Keep in mind, this is above dry ground as well. Now, the rainfall threat is going to be pretty significant over the next 3 days. This is all part of Cristobal. All right, anything like over here, like this part, this is part of the severe weather in my other video. Okay, that's not linked to Cristobal, but what is linked to Cristobal is all this. All right, and still some slight and even moderate flash flood risks. Moderate, which is actually slight and moderate, is actually a pretty high risk. And then here's your very high risk, actually, so dangerous flooding, eastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi. Will this be a Harvey event? Will this be Florence? Will this be Imelda? No, not by any means. However, there's still be a lot of rainfall, potentially exceeding a half a foot, could even exceed 8 inches. So some very heavy rainfall extending all the way from Florida back west towards Louisiana, even extreme eastern Texas, all the way up north and northeastbound, all the way through to UP and Michigan eventually over the next few days. Now, in terms of the rainfall totals, again, I believe this is additional rainfall. This is the valid from 2 p.m. today through 8 p.m. on Wednesday. And in that time, you can see another 4 to 6, even 6 to 10 inches inside that narrow zone of eastern Louisiana and southern Mississippi near Biloxi and New Orleans. But even way outside of that, 2 to 4 inches of rain could extend from, let's say, southern Alabama all the way up to Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, eastern Iowa, northern Wisconsin. You could even see 2 to 4 inches of rain, which the storm will be accelerating as it moves over land. So the fact that we could still see 2 to 4 inches of rain, and that could be in a short amount of time, that could be dangerous. As well as north and northeast Florida, we could even see 2 to 4 inches of rain there as well. Now, key messages. Again, danger of life-threatening storm surge. Again, tropical storm force winds from Louisiana to western Florida Panhandle. Tropical storm warnings, again, are in effect. Heavy rainfall will continue to spread across North Florida, as well as Louisiana, Mississippi, and the heavy rain will continue to move up the mid-Mississippi Valley Monday and Tuesday, and then across the upper mid-Mississippi Valley Tuesday and Tuesday night. And there could still be flash flooding all the way up to the UP and Michigan eventually as we head on further down the road. Now, in terms of the live radar, here it is. All right, so we have some very heavy rainfall actually moving through Biloxi, back west. All right, New Orleans, you're in a little bit of a break right now, but some of that precipitation could rotate again and come back towards New Orleans. All right, but everything, that's the thing with tropical cyclones. The rain just keeps spinning and spinning, especially if the tropical cyclone isn't moving that much, which it really isn't, to be honest with you. The storms are moving just west of Mississippi currently. Macomb, we're starting to see some rainfall brewing there. Hattiesburg, just to your north and west there. And if we look, actually, you can actually look at the 1 hour total, see how heavy is the rainfall. I don't think the rainfall rates are too bad. All right, we can still see a lot of heavy rain, but the rainfall rates themselves aren't going to be that bad. But the fact that we're going to see rainfall over a long period of time still accelerates the rainfall threat, or the flooding threat, I should say. We have had some reports of just over an inch of rain an hour with those storms that have just moved through Biloxi. So if you live just between Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Macomb, Mississippi, right in this region here, Louisiana-Mississippi border, you guys could be in for it next, potentially an inch of rain an hour. And if you don't get it for an hour, let's say you get this storm for this particular cell for 30 minutes, you don't get about half inch of rainfall. But the rainfall rates will be fluctuating, obviously. If we look at how much rain we've had so far, that depends. So New Orleans, and especially just southeast of town, we've had about 2 inches of rainfall so far. Same for Biloxi, but just south of Biloxi, we've actually had 4 inches of rain already, just south of Biloxi. That's like right on the shoreline, but pretty much Biloxi to New Orleans, we pretty much in this particular region, we've had about 2 inches of rainfall, and even well outside of that, all right, even well into where these rainfall bands have been, and we have still the worst to come, by the way. Way outside here, we've had an inch plus of rainfall already, and we can still see some more to come. Now let's flip over to Florida now because we do have some tornado warnings actually there in northern Florida. Some dangerous tornadoes, maybe possibly EF0, EF1 tornadoes, still very dangerous. We got our flood warnings and flood advisories for the Florida and Georgia borderline. And Georgia's getting hammered by the storm as well. I mean, they're getting hit pretty hard by this tropical cyclone. All right, so again, flood warnings, flood advisories there for Florida, Georgia border. Gainesville down to Ocala there, northern Florida, very, very heavy rainfall. If we take a look at the 1 hour rainfall, let's actually take a look at that. How much rain has fallen in the course of an hour here. And the results will surprise you. All right, we've had some rain, some of these cells where that tornado warning storm is here. All right, actually, it might have just been dropped. I'm not sure. It could come back again though, so watch out for that there between Lake City and Gainesville. That tornado warning could possibly come back, but flood warning is definitely there for Perry. I know Madison counties are under flood warnings as well, but rainfall rates have exceeded 1.5 inches of rain per hour. All right, and again, even if that cell only lasts, and 30 minutes, you're still getting 0.75 inches of rainfall. Rainfall rates have gone up to about 1.75 inches per hour. Obviously, depending on how long you can multiply and divide from there. But yes, in terms of the hourly rate, that is your hourly rate. And how much rain have we had already? Yeah. Now, I might be thinking, well, there's a bunch of oranges and reds. This is significantly higher than what we had in Louisiana. No, because with Louisiana, the light green meant 2 inches. For here, light green only means 0.7 inches. So the key is a little bit different. All right, but still, anywhere in the darker reds, we've had as much as 5-6 inches of rainfall for the Florida and Georgia border, from Perry up to Valdosta. Even Waycross has had about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Again, why did this happen? Well, you might be thinking, well, the low center was supposed to go to Louisiana, and it did. And you might be thinking, well, maybe a lot of heavy rain would have been extreme western Florida, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama. Yes, that's what would have happened if the storm was organized. Obviously, since the wind shear is blowing all this convection to the right, Florida has started getting all the rainfall. And we've still seen some rain developing we see some convection developing near the center, which means Louisiana and Mississippi still getting some rain. But we've had as much as 4 or 5 inches of rain here. Jacksonville, Ocala, Gainesville has even seen a couple inches of rain. So widespread heavy rain and widespread flooding here from southern Georgia down through northern and central Florida, even Orlando, especially just to the west of you. Just west, you've had about a couple inches of rainfall already. Where Cristobal is about to make landfall, again, the water temperatures are about average, but in the wake of the system, the waters are cooled off a little bit in the Gulf of Mexico, which is good for not developing tropical systems, because I know we don't want a destructive hurricane by any means. Sitting in waters of about 27 or 28 degrees Celsius, which is about, I'd say, low to mid 80s, so kind of your favorable conditions, but again, we do have some dry air and a little bit of wind shear. Here's your high resolution model, and I can probably, now that it's out, I can probably get the latest model run here. So let's go to the 20Z. Here we go. And again, here's your latest high resolution model run. And again, once it moves inland, we start to see some. Oh, sorry about that. We will start to see some thunderstorms developing near the center of the storm, not as opposed to before, where it's all towards Florida. Florida actually did get some water spouts. I wish I could show you the footage. All right, but because I saw it on TV actually. But yeah, Florida did get some water spouts, especially on the western coast. There, they got some water spouts. But storm looks pretty organized. Still got 994 millibars of pressure, so it is still somewhat strong. Winds will blow all the way from the coastline all the way up through the UP of Michigan. We still see some strong winds here. And when you look at the brightness, or in terms of the satellite imagery, all right, sorry about that. I'm gonna have to refresh the page because now the new model run was out, because the model runs for the high resolution model come out pretty often. So again, here's your satellite loop currently. Obviously, it looks a little bit more high def as opposed to here, because this is what's called a forecast. This is the observation. That's a forecast now, so it looks a little bit more smooth now. But you can see, we could see a blossom of convection there, Georgia, Florida, Savannah, Jacksonville. Some stuck convection there for eastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi. And still, I mean, this storm will keep churning. Even as a tropical depression, it's still going to churn up some convection, some thunderstorms, all the way up from southern Arkansas, all the way up through Alabama and even Georgia. But after that, the storm will continue to make its way out through land and possibly latch up that cold front that's producing that severe weather. Now, in terms of the wind speeds, We've had some wind speeds here of about peak, in terms of sustained surface winds, I would say about 36 to 42 knots or so, which is about 43 to 50 miles per hour, which is just about accurate here. It's a low end tropical storm, but the pressure is pretty low for its wind strength. So the pressure is still 994 would be more of a 50, 60 mile an hour tropical storm as opposed to 45 or 50 mile per hour winds. So even for its wind strength, I definitely think the pressure is pretty low, which does increase that wind threat. You can see some strong winds. We see a couple patches of greens moving inland, so we can see some more 25, 30 mile per hour winds extend inland from here. But yes, so some widespread, I wouldn't say destructive winds by any means, but definitely some strong gusty winds that can reduce some storm surge, higher storm surge values. When you look at the dew points here, even as the center of Cristobal moves inland, there's not going to be much relief behind the system by any means, as we would any low pressure system. Dew point values will remain in the 70s, muggy, oppressive through much of the southeast. And if the sun starts coming out, again, sunny and humid, could that help the virus? Possibly. It's just a possibility. But on the western side of that system, towards Texas, maybe it feels a little bit better. That could be because of the cold front. That could be because of the western side of Cristobal. Maybe some, but you're not going to feel a difference at all. Still in the upper 60s, but a little bit better than, 78-degree dew points. I know 69 is better than 78, but dew points up there in the mid-Atlantic there in the 40s, it is feeling beautiful up there. All right, so there's your dew point values, and now let's look at the total accumulated precipitation. Keep in mind, since the latest model runs are coming in, keep in mind this will be total precipitation, or at least additional to what we have now. Now, eastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, again, we can see another 2 to 4 inches of rainfall, and that is just not, at least according to the high-resolution model anyway. Georgia, Florida, we could see another couple inches. Same for there in Orlando. But you can just see how it just kind of looks rotational. We got these high-resolution bands here. Widespread inch, 2 inches, possibly another 5 inches in some isolated spots. I know southern Mississippi, there's a couple areas of red. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that represents 6 inches in that dark red. So that's something we're going to have to keep our eyes on. And if we look at our last one here, last one is the ML Cape and the wind crossovers. So you can see, again, a lot of the Cape, a lot of that deep energy, that convection, is all found to the east in Florida. All right, and where you have the convection and those turning of the winds with height, we could see some minor water spouts. Keep in mind, again, this storm is already rotating, and when you got turning of the winds with height, we got some updraft, we got some of that ML Cape, we got some of that energy. And water spouts are possible still here for Florida, although I do think the threat's a little bit lower now. But again, we just had that tornado warning for northern Florida, so something we have to keep our eyes on. But that is my final coverage of Cristobal as it makes landfall. Thank you guys for watching. I am the Weather Dude, signing off. Until next time. Catch you guys next video.